Welcome to Surrounded by Sports, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Perkins, and today my guest is Kathryn Venettozzi. Venettozzi, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Odd, I should have said cat.
That's fine. Whatever. I'll answer to both.
Okay, okay. You're doing good.
I am. I am.
All right. Kat is a personal trainer and soccer coach at Pensacola's Catholic High School. She designs workouts for individuals, including Jeremy Reeves of the NFL, and designs off-season workouts for multiple high school teams at Catholic High School, and fifth through eighth graders starting in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. June 9th, we're gonna have some youngins.
Yes, yes. Is that fun?
It is. It's a you. I kind of have to tap into a whole different part of my brain because functional movement is it's tough when you're young because you don't really know what you don't know what the function is. You don't know why you're doing it. But if you play games with it, like hopscotch, for instance, that's functional movement on one leg, but they don't realize it's functional movement on one leg. So, but I kind of have to tap into some prior knowledge to get it to work.
Right, right. Which is part of what we're going to be talking about as we go through this is how you manage to incorporate so much in your life because you take on so many challenges and you do things. You're also a marketing director at Adore Properties, which is like a real estate, and so that's the full-time gig. And then you
Right.
also have your personal trainer, which would be a full-time gig for many people. And then you're a soccer coach at Catholic High School, which would also, but then you also help out with other programs by designing off-season workouts. You realize you do a lot.
When you put it like that,
That's
yes.
my job to make things sound complicated. That's what
When
I
you
kind
put
of
it when you put it all in one sentence, it really gets crowded.
Yeah, right. But so that's a big part of what we're going to talk about. Your journey to doing all of these things, why you have the self-confidence to take on so much, why you feel you should take on so many things, and also just an athletic lifestyle in general, which is something you adhere to. It sound good with you?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to do all that and more after this.
You are watching Surrounded by Sports, the podcast hosted by Kevin Perkins. This show emphasizes how sports and life intersect while showcasing the Gulf Coast. And now, Surrounded by Sports.
Welcome back, Kat. Let's start at the beginning. Now, I know your mom. She's Miss Venettozzi to me. She was my English teacher at Tate High School. I did not realize that she probably talked about it however many years ago that was. It wasn't yesterday. But she's an equestrian, you know?
She is.
Yeah. And so
Yes.
I would think that living in that, and your father was a track guy at South Alabama,
Yes.
and both military as well.
My dad was in the Marine Corps. And then my brother actually just retired from the Marine Corps. So they're all of us are pretty active, but in very different ways.
Right, right. Which also, two Marine Corps guys. Your brother was excelled in soccer. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Soccer and football, and now he's a scratch golfer. So really, he can pick
Whatever
his
he
poison,
does,
I guess.
one of those irritating people, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What are we doing? Well, we're losing to him in darts right now. What are we doing?
That's
We're
what,
losing to
that's
him
what we're
in
doing.
pool right now.
We're playing for second. That's what we're doing.
Right, right. But so there's a high standard in your household.
It is, but it wasn't necessarily forced upon us,
Hmm.
but it was very much like if you're gonna do it, then let's go do it. Like what
Right,
fun is it to be middle ground? What fun is it to lose a lot? Like that's not fun.
right, right,
So we might as well give it a good go because we could have a lot of fun.
right. Well, you watch. I believe we pick up on a lot by the people we are raised by, right? And I don't think I've discussed this much on this episode, but you see your mom. You have horses, right? So
Oh yeah.
mom is at she's up and she's working in the morning because horses they don't feed themselves. They don't. That's work,
No, it's a schedule.
right?
It's a schedule. You have to morning feed, you have to evening feed. There's hay bales, there's work, there's tractors, there's trailers. They have to have farriers and vets, and they're a whole thing.
But you see somebody who's monitoring their time from because school starts early.
Hmm.
And then around the house, normally, if you have a parent who is a good teacher, and yours was, they're doing work at house. They're doing lesson plans. They're grading. They're, in her case, she was English, so she's reading constantly other
Hmm.
people's stuff. And so you see a lot of work around the house, but they manage to have you guys do things without feeling a ton of pressure to be great at it. Is that right?
Right. There was never any fighting or screaming or pushing or any of that. It was we were just all really active, and so some parts came easy, and the parts that didn't come easy, we just worked on our own. I can't even put into words that it was just how it went. There was a discipline about it that was we didn't have to talk about it. There were
Almost
times
innate.
I could bring up some things where we had to put in some discipline, but
Right, right, of course.
everybody had a schedule and everybody had responsibilities, and we just went with it.
Right, right. So you wind up getting into soccer at about 9, right? You kind of watch your brother do it. You get to like it. You mimic him, I assume.
Yes. So David is 10 years older than I am. So he started soccer, and the gig was I wanted to start playing soccer when I was little because that's all I had known was sitting on the sidelines and playing under the bleachers and doing all the things. And mom and dad pushed me off for years because David was still playing. He played into professional, he played through college. And so we don't really want to do the 10-year gap of going to college games and then also going to these little kid games.
Mhm.
So they pushed me off because he was kind of busy with it. And then I memorized the phone number off the yard sign that you could. I wonder if it's. I memorized the phone number to call and register, and so every season, mom would be like, "Oh no, I forgot the number," and I'm like, "Oh
Mhm.
no, I got it." So then she had to call and register me, and then they were off to the races with me. Like David had his time, he had his years, and then I was up through the ranks.
Right, right. So you started, you're pretty good early on. You got to learn the rules a little bit because you hadn't played much and all that. Now, it was playing soccer at a young age is a lot of, if you're good at it, is a lot of traveling, right? And that was a lot.
Yes. Well, it's a lot of traveling now. Even if you play now, but it was a lot of traveling when I was young for a whole different set of reasons. And there weren't that many young girl soccer players. Like the World Cup team of Mia Hamm and Brandy Chastain, that put girl soccer on the map.
Right.
But before that, I mean, that wasn't even a thing. And
Mhm.
so there weren't that many. A lot of girls did cheerleading, a lot of softball. Volleyball wasn't too much of a thing either. But I mean, growing up, all my friends, oh, I have softball practice. That was kind of the thing that young girls could get into, gymnastics. And but I had only known soccer. And so we started, and our team now they have a whole bunch of teams with a whole bunch of levels. So they've got A's and B's and golds and silvers, and which is a great thing because it gets so many young kids playing soccer. It gets so many kids out there playing, running, learning some sort of technical ability, teamwork, sportsmanship, all the things that you learn from playing kids when sports as kids. But we had one team, and we were gonna be the best team from Mobile to Destin. So
Mhm.
we had to travel to find competition, and there weren't good girl youth soccer teams on the north end of the state.
Mhm.
And so to get ample competition, we were in Miami and Fort Myers and Cocoa Beach, or we were in Tennessee, or we were in Dallas, or we were in. So we had to leave to get that competition.
Right. And so now let's pivot real quick before we go through because it is interesting to me. Now it's different in that there are way more teams and you're not traveling to find the competition. But it's like you said, I believe we've had a neat rise of women's sports in recent years. Caitlin Clark's part of it, and then softball, people are starting to realize how exciting it is, or they realized 5 years ago how exciting it is, and they're starting to push monies into that. You had the NCAA decide, oh, well, we should give these people full scholarships, maybe since they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing revenue through our system finally. Soccer started all of that to me with that group of players you're talking about, with the Hams, and it goes through with Hope and all that, right? Hope Solo, of course. And you wind up so a lot of young girls start to play, and soccer kind of became this thing not only with young girls but also with boys, where it's the first sport people play. So
Right.
there's years there where your parents avoided, where it's kind of like herding cattle.
I never was on one of those little kid soccer teams where the
Right.
parents stand on the field, which I'm no knock at that. It's super
Right.
cute and it builds all kinds of fundamentals. But they started me after that. So I
Right.
kind of had to jump in. It was baptism by fire.
Hmm.
So it was all these other kids have been playing, right? Because they've been on these little fields, but they have been playing and they understand what's going on. They've been playing for 4 or 5 years, where I understood what was going on because I had to watch, except for what I was watching was college soccer. So it was
Yeah.
I missed the ragamuffin years.
Right. Right.
Um,
So then you wind up at Tate and think and you're good and all that, but you get a little I guess you self-described burnout.
yes. So it started after my sophomore year of high school,
Hmm.
and then it probably lasted a whole nother year. And then by the time I came into my senior year of high school, I was still going to camps and I was still doing all the things. Um, which are there, there's tons of stories. I used to have to go to, my dad would register me and I would go to the boys camp.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was um, still doing all the fun stuff, and the burnout hit more when I had to combine high school sports with travel soccer. And so I would have weightlifting at school, and then I would have high school soccer, and then I would have a 30-minute break, and then I'd go to travel soccer. And it wasn't that I was tired of playing. It was probably the first glimpse that I saw what else I was missing. So
Right.
then it was, well, I can drive and there's fun things going on that I can't go to because we load up every Friday at 3 o'clock and we're driving to Miami. And then it was, you get the weird, like, well, I really wish I wasn't going to this practice, or I really wish, I wish I wasn't going to this tournament. And so
Right.
it kind of starts to sink in. And by my senior year of high school, I just couldn't even bother with it anymore. It seemed like it was just a burden.
Well, the interesting thing is though that you don't give up sports. You gave up
Mm-mm.
you transitioned into tennis fairly quickly.
Yes. I decided that I didn't want to play soccer anymore, but tennis looked fun. And nobody, my dad would play racquetball. He and my mom would play racquetball, but nobody played tennis. That wasn't a Benetazzi sport.
Right.
And I was like, tennis looks fun. And mom was like, okay, go for it. Because it was very, like if you're not going to play soccer and you are interested in some other way of exercising, and it's a different team dynamic, but you're still on a team. It's different practice. It's different outfits, like a skirt, like how weird. And so she was like, go for it, but also we're not going to go out there and flounder around.
Hmm.
So she got a contact for tennis lessons, and I would go to UWF in the afternoons, and I had tennis lessons so that I could know what I was doing, because part of enjoying your sport is knowing what's going on. And so then we had tennis tryouts, and I was a tennis player.
Right. Right. Now, and and you're on the team, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Right. And it's a completely different, I mean, we talked about this. Another big thing with me is always what you do leads you to what you do next. And although tennis is completely different with like you're using your hands, of course, or hand or backhand, two hand, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But the footwork that you utilized in soccer probably helps you get to where you're.
Well, I never had to think about the feet. So if you were to start tennis young, they're working on footwork. I never had to think about the feet because I was gifted with speed in any sport. My
Right.
dad was a sprinter. David is blazing fast. We're all, it was just
Yeah.
distance, forget it. But for
Right.
speed, we were there. So I never had to worry about the sprinting on the tennis court or anything like that. But it was like a shock to go from hands being forbidden to now you're chasing it around and you're only using hand eye. I told you earlier that my first official tennis match, um, I was at Pace High School, and the girl served it at me. And before I was so nervous. I had never played in a real tennis match before. And she served it at me. The first thing I did was trap it with my foot, and it fell immediately to the ground. And I thought, oh no.
Well, that's okay. That's a unique thing too, right? Because people think I'm crazy when I say tennis is like boxing, and they go, "How can it be like boxing?" You're by yourself,
Oh yeah, you're out there. You're taking your own punches. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
100%, and you're throwing them. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
having a bad day, if things didn't go good in fifth period, if things didn't go good in sixth period, if Billy or Susan didn't call you today, that don't matter. You can't rely on one of your buddies to pick you up today and get you in a good mood. You're by yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I had never played a solo sport before. I had never
Right.
done that, but it was, I think, because I had never done it, it became really fun. Um, we would have, like, on Fridays, we'd have practice Monday through Thursday. And on Fridays, it was your challenge day. So you have your ranks. How you're seeded to play against other teams, how you're seeded, and so you could do a challenge day, and you could challenge the rank above you to try to take their spot. And so it was very much like that was a solo decision. Like, do I dare go after the next? Do I really want to be the two and have to go play Gulf Breeze? Like, their two's probably better than the Tate two,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but you'd have to go out there on Fridays, and if you wanted to take the next spot, you had to go do it. But there was no, I didn't have a center mid behind me. I didn't have a stopper behind them. I didn't have a defensive line before. I mean, it was just you out there. But I
Right.
also really liked that. That was fun.
Right. Was that part of what was getting away from, was that part of the reason why you pivoted to tennis, or did it just like look like fun?
It just looked like fun. And I had
Okay.
friends that played, and they looked like they were having fun playing. And I thought, well,
Right.
there's no way I can't do that. Like, I can look how short the court is compared to a soccer field. So
100%. Right.
I can't think of a true reason why it became tennis,
Right.
but it was fun, and I very much enjoyed that.
Right. Now you go to UWF, correct?
Went to UWF.
Right.
The soccer opportunities were still there.
Mhm.
But I really just wasn't interested in, one, the politics that would come with it, or two, the idea of, if coach calls practice at 5 a.m., you have practice at 5 a.m. That wasn't really appealing to me as an 18-year-old.
Right.
And I had the same, if not better, scholarship opportunities academically, especially in the state of Florida, because I had bright futures.
Mhm.
So if I want to stay in the state, I could just pick. But I wasn't one of those kids who was like, I got to get as far out of Pensacola as possible. No, I loved going to the beach, and I loved, I had family in Fairhope, and we had obviously family in Pensacola, and it was, I'd had no reason to leave. And so I went to UWF and did intramurals there and had a great time. Now, I will say I did not play intramural soccer for a while. I refused. So I
Right.
would play like flag football and
Yeah.
things like that. But
Which now you could get a scholarship playing flag football.
listen, if flag football were a thing when I were in high school,
Yeah.
I mean, we had a flag football tournament at the end of every year that student council would host,
Mm-hmm.
as just like a moneymaker for the school. And we'd have, whatever. And I can remember my freshman year, we scored 81 points as a team. And I like, listen, if that were a thing when I were in high school, tennis would have never happened.
Right.
Never.
Right. Right. It's neat that they have that option now.
It's so cool. It's
Right.
so cool.
Right.
And
And
you don't have to tackle. Like, you can still learn schemes, and and
yeah.
most girls don't want or need to ever learn defensive schemes in football. So it's fun that that's now an option.
Right. And it's hilarious. They're talking about trying to use NFL players if it becomes an Olympic sport. Have you seen?
Oh gosh.
That's crazy,
Well,
right?
that's I would not want to be on an opposing team.
Nah, with Tyreek Hill or what? I played.
No.
I played in a flag football game that Greg Allen was in, who played with the Browns, and he was just running towards me. And for a minute there, I kind of forgot what it was, and I kind of just moved out of his way. He's a whole lot, moving fast. You know,
No.
I didn't want anything to do with that.
I like my elbows, my knees, my shoulders. Like, that's fine. I'm not getting paid for this.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, no
Okay,
way.
so, but your major's business, right?
Business, and then I have an art degree and I have a business degree.
Okay, now where does the personal trainer come in?
My first real job was at a gym, just the person who walks around and wipes down the equipment and counts heads every hour, just the,
Yeah.
run of the mill gym worker. And I always loved going to the gym. Um, I would go with my brother and I'd go with friends. I just loved going, always loved working out.
There's a camaraderie
Um,
there.
oh yeah, yeah, it was something to do and it was part of the schedule. And then it was just fun.
Yeah.
And then that was my first ever job. And then from there, when you're in college, you have all kinds of opportunities to, like UWF would have certification classes that they would offer. So you could get new certifications through UWF. They would have somebody come teach and you could do the certification there. And so I had a few different certifications just in college itself. And then my senior project, which was in a business class, all these people split up and they would go to different businesses around the area and do their internships, but a lot of them did like corporate internship. I think that's probably what they thought we were all going to go do.
Mhm.
But I finagled my professor into allowing me to do my corporate gym membership with a guy who owned a personal training studio. So he owned his own business and he had the overhead of the studio, so technically it counted. But then I got to work with him and all of his clients as my summer, my project, and that's kind of where it started. And then at the very end, you have to do almost like a capstone project where you go out on your own and you have to start and end and you have to collect your data and you have to do your findings. And so my brother's best friend volunteered as tribute, and so my senior project was tracking him for 4 months, 4 days a week in the gym, and we did his body fat and we did his diet and we did his activity level. And this is before smartwatches, so we were manually trying to
Yeah.
calculate all these different things. And we would go grocery shopping and I would be like, okay, well, like, how many of this did you eat this weekend, or how many of this? And we tracked his body fat all, and we got him so trimmed. He was in such good shape. But he was my senior project. He was my thesis. And so that's taking that in a business class and trying to incorporate it into fitness and life fitness. And I could still provide the data that they wanted, but everybody else came in and they were talking about, like, operating income and balance sheets. And I was like, this guy lost 25 pounds.
But you did also, that's what you wind up doing though.
Yes. So that very much paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, you wind up doing what you practice to do. You don't know you're practicing to do your next thing, right? You never know you're practicing to do your next job, but you kind of are, no matter what it is, whether it's like with me, for example, I run restaurants, right? I took a cooking class as a senior because I didn't want to take anything serious
Mm-hmm.
and talked my way into an advanced cooking class, and boom, that and basic arithmetic and whatever you learn coaching and playing sports I've utilized
People skills. Oh
for
yeah.
a
Oh
career,
yeah.
and so
Running a team.
yeah,
Absolutely.
management's management. It doesn't matter whether it's baseball or basketball or uh, uh, a business. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Managing is managing. You're trying to help people get into position where they can be successful, that type of thing. But back
Mm-hmm.
to you. Now, where does Jeremy come into play?
So I continued training. I had clients. I mean, even I was a teacher for 8 years, and even then, I had personal training clients either before or after work, and a lot of that was young athletes, um, mostly soccer players, young athletes who they were getting plenty of soccer practice, but they weren't getting any sort of personal, tailored workouts for, like, hey, well, I have this daughter and she's very talented in soccer and she is interested in going to college, but she needs to be bigger, she needs to be stronger, she needs to be faster, and we don't need to touch her ability to play, but we also don't want her to get pummeled when she goes to college and just get run over by all these much bigger girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of, I would say, the start of the strength and conditioning, the morph from personal training to strength and conditioning, because those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of probably the start of that. And then through other certifications, went through and did the EXO certification, more tailored toward athletes and performance specialists, that kind of thing. And then did that just on the side for fun, because I did really enjoy working with young athletes, and they're easy to track because they make progress in leaps and bounds because they've never had any tailored attention. So then once you give it to them, they just, I mean, it's so fun to work with them, and they get excited about their own progress, and it's just great. And then COVID hit and all the gyms were closed. And when they closed the gyms, they also closed professional facilities. And Jeremy is from Pensacola. He went to Catholic high school, and then he went to South Alabama to play football. And I had known his dad from just going to the gym. And so he would see me and, hey, how's it going? What's up? And then I got a text one day that was like, hey, my name's Jeremy. I think you know my dad. But I play at the time, it was still the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
I play for the Redskins. Our facility is shut down. I can't stop training. And Pensacola still had enough availability that you could, with, certain number of people allowed in a building, that type of thing.
Right.
You could still work out. And that was 2020. I started with him, doing his workouts 3 days a week. He does his own running. He's very disciplined when it comes to running and sprint work and field work. So luckily I didn't have to do anything like that, except for when he would be, especially just want new drills or fresh drills, or he called them soccer drills.
Mm-hmm.
He run some soccer drills.
Right.
That was the first off season, was 2020. And then we've been together every off season since, because he comes back home to Pensacola. He's got a house here, and he's kind of a homebody. So he spends his off season at home, just kind of quietly training. Mm-hmm. And we used the Catholic facility because he graduated from there. They have a beautiful strength and conditioning facility. Mm-hmm. And so they let him come in very early, before school, before football, before any of that, to come in to train. So I would go in there with him, and we would run his workouts. He'd be done with his workout before the work day or the school day ever started. Mm-hmm. And so now we're 5-6 years into this,
right?
Into his off-season training. But also, like, he's easy to train because he is always actively trying to get better.
Right. Well, that's how I remember Danny Cannell said one time that when he was the top guy, right, when he was the first round, the early draft pick and all that, he didn't. He worked hard, but he didn't realize how hard he could work. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he was
mm-hmm.
like, once I wasn't the guy anymore, I was early to meetings. I didn't miss anything. I was the best teammate. I was gonna make sure I got to stay.
Well, and he has a great story. He's not 6'6", 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. And he came from Catholic, and he was actually a really good baseball player, but right. just liked football better. And, you hear the stories like, well, I was told I would never. So he's kind of always playing against the odds. And so because of that, he has always been the one. He's the first one in the facility.
Right.
You never have to worry about his off season. He'll go back to in season and be in just as good a shape, if not better, because of what he has worked on, for months and months and months at home.
Pretty big testimony to you too, that he has, because he could hire someone else.
Oh, he could.
I mean, it's a pretty big
hire a team.
Yeah, but he comes back. That's a pretty big testimony to you and your relationship there. But I think he winds up being how you wind up working with Catholic sports altogether. You want to transition into that?
Yeah, so because we were in the gym, and obviously the football coaches and athletic director, all the coaches knew that he would be in there in the mornings working out. And so they would kind of see my workouts are not not normal looking. Like there's a lot of moving going on, and there's a lot of, you're gonna do this here, and you're gonna sprint here, and you're gonna run back here, and you got to push the sled here, and you got to jump here. It's a lot of movement, lots of movement, very fast. There's no sitting down, resting. You can rest at home. Like we have work to do.
Which is how your brain operates.
Oh yeah, quickly. So we were in there working out, and then that was kind of Matt Adams, who was the football coach. He came over and he was like, he and Coach Mack, they were like, would you be interested in working with the boys football team? Mm-hmm. Which was a compliment, but also a little shocking. You know, there's not a lot of female football coaches walking around Pensacola.
Right.
But also then I had 100 of them. Like, how exciting is that? I got 100 kids.
Right.
And so that was fun in itself. They would do the field stuff. So they were in groups and rotations, and they, you know, you've got the group that's working on the field, the group that's working out there doing footwork, and then you'd have the group that would come in to work out. And so that was super fun. That was the first time I had trained football players, plenty of them. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I had a first football team. So that was super cool. But then from that, then all the other sports were like, wait a minute. And so then it became lacrosse, and then it was soccer, and then.
Right. And Matt's he's a fantastic coach. So
yeah, again, he's a great guy.
Again, it's quite a compliment if he looks at what you're doing and says, hey, I need to mix this into what I'm doing. And it was just a different. It's high level football too. They're good, man.
Oh yeah. And they have you talk about discipline. He expects the discipline. I mean, they were the best group of guys because they were just not just because I was a girl, but they were so respectful, and everything was yes ma'am, no ma'am. And if we said more, they did more. Like, it was very much if any coach says jump, the answer is always how high. Mm-hmm. And, that was a lot of fun to work with them because, and it was stuff that they had never done before, because they can squat and they can deadlift and they can bench and they can do these power moves. They were plenty conditioned with power, but then to do
functional,
lots of function, lots of moving and lots of jumping, where like, what are we doing? Like, this seems silly. And then I'm really sore from that silly workout.
Right.
It's just something different to do.
Now, how did soccer, obviously you have a soccer background, but how did you transition into that?
So John is the head girls soccer coach at Catholic. This last year was just his first year, but in years prior, he's heavily involved in youth soccer in Pensacola. And one of my good friends, Matt, and I would go out on one night a week, and we would do speed training for this young, maybe they're 16, 17-year-old boys. So we would do speed training once a week and do drills and all different kinds of things, just that first explosive step. And then that's how I met John. And then I was helping with the workouts for the lacrosse team, the girls lacrosse team. And John became the girls soccer coach, and he called me like, hey, I know you're already helping out at Catholic. Can you help out with girls soccer, just preseason? You know, like, we got 6 weeks till tryouts, and I don't want them to come to tryouts and be tired. You know, can we just 6 weeks of it? Mm-hmm. I'm like, sure. And he was like, I don't have a JV coach yet. I don't have an assistant coach yet. It's just me. I just took the program because my daughter's a junior, and I didn't want to see her have to flip coaches around so fast. I'm like, oh yeah, preseason, let's do it. Yeah, well,
you got
bait and hook.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
so then I was trying to find him an assistant coach, and I was going through my Rolodex of like college soccer players to come back and help, and then it was me.
Then you wind up saying, I'm probably the best person for this job.
Then it was me.
Yeah, right. So let's take a break real quick, and we'll come back and try to talk about how you managed to do all of this and how that worked out. Sound good?
Oh yeah, we can try.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Welcome back. I'm here with Kathryn Venettozzi, soccer coach, trainer. how do you, obviously, you know, the real job, they're all real. It's funny how I'll say, well, that's my real job. Well, everything's your real job because, okay, well, there
Right.
it is. From your childhood to now, the standard is the standard. The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Love that.
And
That's me. Mhm.
those are catchphrases that didn't come along when you were a kid. Like they're a 10-year-old thing, but they are absolutely what people like to talk about now. And that is the way you go about things, right?
I would like to think so. And a lot of it's not even on purpose. A lot of that was just instilled young, but the how you do anything, I completely agree. How you do anything is how you're going to do everything. So if you are doing a halfway job on something you're not interested in, or if you're doing a halfway job on something you are interested in, just imagine what you're going to do on a job you're not interested in. So if you're going to do it well.
Right.
In sports, in your main job, in your side job,
Right.
in your relationships, whatever. If you're going to do it, you do it well.
Well, the other thing is too, it's not finished. When
no.
when you're doing things, like common sense says, when you're doing something and you kind of halfway do it, it's not finished. And you can't walk away. You can't walk away from something, Kat, if it's not finished.
Well, there's a reason I take golf lessons every Monday. It's not finished.
Right. So
because I'm not there yet, and I can't.
You can't walk away.
I can't. No. You play that terrible hole that you say like I'm never. I mean, you try to throw your. If I could burn my 5-iron as a sacrifice to the golf gods, poof.
Right.
But then you hit a great shot, and all right, I'm coming back.
I learned how to. I full disclosure, there are times when I curse. I learned I learned how to do that actually riding in a golf cart with my granddad on a golf course.
Which means you heard a lot of it, because there is nothing more. I cannot think of times I've been more angry than at myself in a golf course.
Right. Like, he kept it simple though. There were only about 2 words he used. I have a much broader vocabulary myself, but
on repeat.
Yeah, right.
About every 12 minutes, I think. The average golfer 12 minutes to play a hole, so about every 12 minutes.
Right. So, how do you what is a day for you? Like you said, Monday you take golf lessons, but generally speaking, are you like a 9 to 5 work, or is it 8 to 4?
The sun up to sundown.
Right. The main job.
Oh, my main job. Yeah, it's a regular 9 to 5. We don't have clients that come into the office. So luckily I have a very flexible work schedule, so that, if I have to leave to go for us, a soccer game or something, that's perfectly understandable. But I have a normal day job. And then I have clients before work. Especially if it's the off season, because Jeremy is an early morning fitness. So I have clients before work, and then I have work. And then depending on what time of the year it is, I'll either have the soccer girls, or could be the lacrosse girls, or could be personal training, because a few of the lacrosse and soccer players do like specific strength and conditioning for them and for their strengths and weaknesses. So they could be after. We're always doing something. And then Mondays I play golf. Tuesdays I teach a boot camp class in Gulf Breeze. Always.
Yeah. So
something to do.
You're up, and you manage to. When are you working out?
I work out. I go to that boot camp class in Gulf Breeze a few days a week, because it's a great group of people and the workouts are hard. So I do like group fitness there, but I also have our garage is completely built out, like bumper plates, rubber floors, so I can work out here easily. I do a mileage challenge every month with a couple of my friends, and so it averages out to 3.3 miles a day. So we do 100 miles a month every month.
You have a walking pad under your desk at work?
I do. So I used to have a lot of back pain, probably from all the activities. Living this weirdo life. So I started standing, and it went away. And so then I was like, well, if I'm standing, I could be walking, getting steps, so that I have a walking pad at work. And so I'll do a couple miles a day on my walking pad, so that I can keep but I also find that unless I'm doing something very tedious, like an Excel spreadsheet where I have to be looking at numbers and what's connecting, if I'm just like typing emails and going through, I actually find like I'm paying more attention, which is funny because I can remember mom as a teacher having her students stand in their desks. Did you ever do that? Stand in your desk to recite things out loud?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah. So
remember
you'd
I
have to
had to hear something there. Yeah.
stand in your desk to, I'm sure it was Julius Caesar. And I did, when I was a teacher, I made my kids stand on their desks to do it because there is some mind muscle connection. If you're doing something that is, we'll take the desk, for example, it's kind of wobbly, but you have to connect your mind with what you're doing to like your physical state, like your mind muscle connection, almost just like you're better at it. And so I find that if I put my headphones in, I'm on my walking tread, I'm like in the zone, because it's you can't stop what you're doing, you'll fall off your treadmill. So it's almost like the hamster is powering the wheel.
Right. There's a rhythm to it.
Yeah, I actually really like it.
Right.
Prefer
Right.
it.
Well, it's weird. My algorithms have turned into just self-help stuff, which could be a little overwhelming, you know what I mean? But by the same token, whatever, I can use
Yeah.
the advice,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of them is, if you don't have a meeting where you have to write anything down, do it walking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My boss actually, he has probably worn the carpet in his office, like that super thin commercial carpet. I bet he has worn a track in his
Right.
office, because if he has an important meeting that it doesn't have to be on Zoom,
Right.
laps. They've said that if you have to do like on phone interviews, if they're not Zoom, to be walking,
Right.
because it, like, the physical pattern of it is supplementing that, the movement, like you're all connected.
Now, your husband's an athlete as well?
Yes, he played soccer. He's from Brazil, so of course he played soccer, and that's
Pretty good.
it's not like when I say I played soccer, like it's
Right.
another level.
Right.
So he played for an
They
academy
train
down there,
dojo
and
style.
yeah, he was one of those kids that like he didn't even go to normal school. They have sessions and workouts and all these things during the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
and then at night they have classes. So he was very good at soccer. I'm sure he still is, but now he just like doesn't want to play. But
Right.
very good at soccer. And then he came to the States in college, and he played not here in Pensacola, but he played in the States to get his undergrad. So soccer brought him to the States.
Right.
And he's, I wouldn't say just as active, only because he calls me a busybody.
Okay.
So he's not interested in every part of your day has something going in on it.
Right.
But he wakes up before I do every morning to go work out.
Uh-huh.
He is, very active.
Right. So what is it about you that keeps you taking on new challenges and challenging yourself? Is that important to you?
It is, but I'm not doing it on purpose. And he'll be like, okay, enough.
Right.
Like,
Say no.
right, enough. Like, we can't go play pickleball and then go play golf and then go to soccer practice, and then, like, you're not 18, like, slow down. But
Right.
the body in motion stays in motion, I guess. So I don't know what it is, other than I also enjoy all of those things. So
Right.
nothing that I do feels like some weird obligation. So I enjoy going to my golf lessons, and I love teaching my boot camp class, and I can't wait for, workouts. I love I love my regular job. So nothing ever feels forced. I think I like the higher pace.
Right. But well, then it goes back to, okay, so I believe nobody can teach like your mom did without enjoying it.
Oh
The
yeah.
horse thing, that's too much work. You can sell it all and make more money than continuing to do it, right?
Hmm.
And you surround yourself with occupations and people that you enjoy. Therefore, I'm not going to work. I'm going to help these people. As a byproduct of that, they're going to pay me. Right. But
Oh
I
yeah.
enjoy being there. I enjoy what I'm doing. Is that really the essence of all of it, is you keep finding things you love?
Yeah, and then you get doses of it over time. Like I can remember the first young athlete I ever trained, her signing day. Like that was I like it's like we did it. And so it was we're here. We wanted a D1 soccer scholarship and we got it. And
Right.
so um that that was like none other because it wasn't me. I could care less about
Right.
my ability to play soccer anymore. But like if that's that person's goal and she's just as committed as I to working out as I was to her. So it would be like
Right.
she was doing that same I saw myself in that because she would leave soccer practice to come weightlift. And
Right.
so it was 3 or 4 days a week for 4 years. We worked together because that was the goal. And her parents said, if this is what you want to do, then let's chase it. Boom, check. And after that, it was like, listen, name your goal and we'll get as close to it as we possibly can. And it's since then, it's whether if it's baseball players or mostly soccer players.
Right.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, Julia, she's a young lacrosse player. She's playing lacrosse at University of New Hampshire. So but then she got to do her signing and it's like, you feel it all over again. Like
Right.
they did it.
Right. But you get to be a
And
part
so
of
I
that.
get to be lucky enough to be a part of it. Yep.
That's wonderful. Let's end on that. Kat, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Folks, I'm Kevin Perkins. That's Kathryn Venettozzi. This is Surrounded by Sports. Like, comment, subscribe. Please enjoy this one. Go back and watch some of the ones from the past. And thank you so much for giving me your time, Kat. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Take care. Have a